Should start, yeah. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Pune International Center. Today we have PIC Adda, under which we have a very noted personality with us, so who is General Dr. D.B. Shekhatkar. He is going to talk on India-China standoff. Should India ever trust China? It's a very, very interesting topic and very relevant in the current times. Pune International Center, I will quickly tell about PIC. PIC is a think tank of comprising of more than 300 personalities from different walks of life, different professions, and it conducts different programs, including such talks, seminars, group discussions, social innovation programs, policy papers for the government, and so on and so forth. Of which PIC Adda is one such vertical which is normally intended for the PIC members, but in the current times we keep it open for everybody who is interested. And now today we also have with us Dr. Amitav Malik. He's a Padma Shri awardee and he's a founder member of PIC. We all, of course, know him. He will be introducing the speaker to us. Before I hand over to Professor Malik to give introduction of the speaker, I would request everybody to kindly switch off their mobiles and kindly ensure that you are on mute. And the question and answers will be taken at the end. There is a panel on the right hand side about for question and answers. Kindly put your questions there, which we will take up at the end. I would now request, first of all, welcome General Dr. D.B. Shekhatkar, sir. And now I would request Professor Malik to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, sir. You can hear me, all right?
Yes, yes, we can.
Welcome, General Shekhatkar. Let me add my own welcome to you and the greetings to you for the PIC Adda. Sangeeta has already explained a little bit about the PIC. Let me add that we started this PIC Adda way back in 2012. It's a monthly event for all the PIC members and their spouses, so that we could all meet informally, and also we used to have this in Tata Event Center, and we used to also have lunch after that. So it was a kind of a idea exchange amongst the members and the guests, so that we have carried on for 8 years with very few exceptions. Now, of course, with the virus restrictions, we are now working online. Online, we have opened it, and today we already are excess of 70 and we will see 100. The topic is very important, and of course, the speaker is legendary, none other than Lieutenant General. So General Shekhatkar also, of course, he got his PVSM in 2002 after the VSM and AVSM, and he's a soldier, thinker, mentor, motivator, and many things. He's also the Chancellor of the Sikkim University. He's got a long and very impressive biodata. So allow me to pick up a few things to read so that I don't make a mistake. Apart from many impressive military decorations that he wears proudly, he also has many PhD flags in his cap. He has a PhD in defense studies, defense and strategic studies, management studies, and he's already pursuing his third PhD in psychological warfare. He also has a in weapons and equipment, and also in energy and environment. So quite a thinking soldier, and with a passion for. General Shekhatkar has chaired numerous expert committees on defense reorganization, internal security, and particularly terrorism, his special capability. After retirement, he served as the chair professor at the Department of Defense and Strategic Studies in Pune University. And in the process, he has co-authored about 16 books on the important topics of the security management, He served the Indian Army in various capacities for 4 decades, rising to the rank of the Lieutenant General. And he was on several experts as well as international joint working groups to gain legendary figurehood for his leadership in many other things, but mainly counterterrorism, where his specialty has been the human touch. We are very fortunate to have such a distinguished speaker for the PIC Adda today. And being online, it is of course open to all. Spreading understanding on how India-China standoff can be managed efficiently and what we can do. So, General Saab, let me welcome you and start this discussion with one. Yes, thank you, sir. Start the discussion with one simple question to take us back to the 1962, when China was not the power that it is today. Both were almost comparable, both India and China, and there was no high-stake issue really happening. There was not even any inkling of China-Pakistan nexus. So, what triggered the 1962 event? The Chinese thinking from that, and then come back to the. So, if I may I post this and welcome you to start your talk.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very kind and generous introduction. You made a mention that he is a thinking soldier. My profession demands I should not be a thinking person. I should not be a knowledgeable person. I must be a person. These are the expectations of the Indian top leadership, particularly in the governing mechanism, the diplomatic corps. Of course, politicians are miles away from national interest, so there's no point remembering them. If we start, we will start questioning. That is a basic thing. So I will confine myself to the Lakshman Rekha which I have drawn. What triggered the conflict? And second thing is, what is the state of standoff today? And third thing, which has been given, can we ever trust China? While starting on that, the month of August, September, October, November, and December in Indian history, ancient history, as well as post-independent history, have been very important months. They have decided the future of India. They have decided the security of India. They have decided the defense mechanism of India. And they have decided who will be the friend and who will be the competitor, who will be the adversary, and who will be a sworn enemy of India. These months have been very important. And therefore, I must compliment you all, sir. Today on 19th of September, we are discussing. Today is the date when Chinese have shown their hand in 1962. They had already enmassed their forces in Tibet, and they were about to launch the attack. I was undergoing training at Indian Military Academy. I had done my graduation, I had done my NCC, passed out exactly 5 months after the war, and went straight to Tawang, which was the worst battlefield in India. Our job that time used to be, we had to wait till March, because the war started on 18th of October. Ceasefire was declared on 19th of November, and then snow started. Like day before yesterday, you would have seen the newspaper report, media. It has started snowing in eastern Ladakh, where the standoff is going on. So we had to wait till the month March 1963 for the snow to melt, and then our job was to discover the dead bodies of our soldiers who had died in that war. So that was my induction into the profession of arm for a young boy of 20 and a half year old. Thereafter, I got into this frame. 15th August of 1947, of course, we became independent. But on 29th of August and 30th of August 2020, Indian Army did what nobody has done before. We occupied those territories in Ladakh which have been claimed by China. They don't belong to China. And Chinese were taken by surprise. And we continue to be there. And therefore, yesterday in Parliament, Honorable Raksha Mantri has mentioned, there is no question of pulling back. Not an inch will be pulled back now. That is the status today. In September 1962, I mentioned the Chinese consultation has started. 18th of October, China attacked. 19th of October, ceasefire was announced. 19th of November, I beg your pardon. The ceasefire was announced. Chinese withdrew on their own because they knew they cannot stay in those areas which they had captured, particularly Arunachal Pradesh. On 16th of December, India created a Bangladesh. So these months are very important. And even today, these are connected to India, China, stand Pakistan, and standoff which is going on. What we call in the armed forces, these are the campaigning months. You may recall, Madam Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister when 1971 war took place, she had asked then Chief of the Army, General Manekshaw, then became Field Marshal Manekshaw, to liberate East Pakistan in the month of June 1971. And he said, I promise you, Madam Prime Minister, in front of him, they were Home Minister, they were Foreign Minister, they were. He said, Madam Minister, I promise you 100% defeat. And then he gave the reasoning, I don't have to go into that. And then she said, all right, then you decide. So he decided for the month of December. Exactly the same way, Chinese also take into consideration number of factors when they made an ingress into Indian territory, when they try and get into intrusions, when they try and create problem for India along the line of control into Arunachal Pradesh, Ladakh. We don't need to go into those details. Why do they do it? But there are a number of reasons for it. And they picked up this time. And second philosophy of China is, my way is the highway. What I do will be the correct one. China very cleverly has infiltrated into Indian establishment, not from now, since 1947, even before they started. They got into establishment, they got into bureaucracy, not the bureaucrats, but the bureaucracy. They got into diplomacy, not the diplomats, but diplomacy. They have impacted the political thinking of India. They have impacted the economic thinking of India. There is no field of governance in India. Chinese influence is not there. I've dealt with China. Apart from rising from the rank of second lieutenant till lieutenant general, the entire Arunachal Pradesh was under my control as a lieutenant general. And that time during Kargil, Chinese tried to play a dirty trick and we had to teach them a lesson. Onwards, today what you see, the standoff which is going on for almost 4 months now, we continued there for 75 days and we hammered them. From that day onward, till this morning, they have not ventured into the territory. China respects power. China respects firmness. Unfortunately, in Indian philosophy of governance, we have been too submissive. Our diplomacy towards China will be, I have been, oh, what will they do? Oh, we should be okay. So they took us for a royal ride since 1947. And they continue to take us for a ride. Since 1914, when we signed an agreement with Tibet, we means that time the Great Britain, Chinese said we don't agree with that. And thereafter, We have signed Panchsheel in 50s. Pandit Nehru was the Prime Minister, Mr. Menon was the Raksha Mantri. They disregarded Panchsheel. 1993, when we signed the first Peace and Tranquility Agreement, I'm sure there may be some diplomats also listening to me, and they will correct me if I'm wrong. I was a member of that committee. I was a member of the group, joint working group, when the first Chinese draft to Ministry of External Affairs, it came to Ministry of Defense, and then it came to Army Headquarters, that what do you make out of this draft which came from them? We examined the draft, and I was deputy Army Headquarters, Ministry of Defense, to be part of this working group. And that's why I know everything. At that time, the first paragraph stated both sides will line of control. Sir, my Lakshman Rekha is what you told me, why China has created the war. Both sides will respect line of control. There are 3 people in Pune, apart from me, from the army, who are my bosses. We corrected the draft and we included one word. Both sides will respect the existing line of control, the word existing. That's all. Myself, I was a brigadier. My boss, now Lieutenant General Patil, retired, he's in Pune. Then Colonel Deepak Samanwar, retired the Lieutenant General, he's staying in Pune. And our young friend, Excellency Gautam Bambawale, he had joined the services that time. He may recall. Shiv Shankar Menon was the Joint Secretary. And Mr. Dikshit was the Foreign Secretary. So when we included this draft, Chinese, when they came, they said, no, we don't agree with this word. Why have you included the word existing? They went back to China. Didn't sign. They didn't agree on that. And then I was told, why are you playing with English? What is the problem? Why did you put this word existing? I said, you will recall this after 40 years, when I may not be in power, I may not be in the army, but India will remain there. Mr. Narasimha Rao, the Prime Minister then, they played with this word. The reason was, till the boundary dispute is resolved, both sides respect the line of control. Jo jahan baitha hai, wahan baitho. Don't ingress. Don't come into it so that you do not create. This is linked to 1962 war. When I asked the Vice Foreign Minister of China, Mr. Xi Jinping, he was the previous Foreign Minister. We don't speak during diplomatic talks. We are only listening to it. But during tea, coffee break, we spoke to him. I said, Your Excellency, what is the problem in using this word existing line of control? He said, we told you our perception of line of control in 1959. 1959. So I said, Your Excellency, if that was so, why was the 62 war took? Chinese think 100 of years ahead. We think 3 years, 2 years, 5 years to 5 years. मेरी कुर्सी कहाँ है, मेरा बाप कहाँ बैठेगा, वो कौन बनाएगा, will my nephew will become a minister. That's all. Our vision of national security, national defense remains confined. Sorry for being frank, but I hope at least in Pune International Center, one can afford to be true. One can afford to be true. Because my guru was Mr. Ram Sathe, who was the Foreign Secretary of India. He was ambassador in China. So when I became the member of this group, my chief told me, go to Pune, meet Mr. Ram Sathe, understand from him. Because he knew everything. He was the Foreign Secretary with Madam Gandhi. And he told me, I'm repeating today, he said, who appointed you in the joint working group? I said, sir, Ministry of Defense recommended. MEA has agreed. He said, but you have 2 disqualifications. I said, what are these? He said, firstly, you are from Maharashtra. And in Maharashtra, you are taught right from childhood, khara bol, khotu bolu nako. Tell the lies. Qualification you have. And people from Pune have a good habit की ज्या विषयाबद्दल आपल्याला माहित नाही 2-2 तास व्याख्यान द्यायचं हा आमचा जन्मसिद्ध अधिकार आहे हे त्यांनी मला सांगितलं. And therefore he said, but the guiding principle he said, never speak the truth in politics and diplomacy. If you speak the truth, you will commit suicide. So therefore, and this is applicable. It is not the fault of our diplomats or bureaucrats. No, please, for God's sake, we should not blame them. These are the requirement. If the diplomats start telling the truth, the diplomacy will go for a ride. So ambiguity is the part of diplomacy. And vagueness is the part of bureaucracy. Remain vague, never be to the point. But in the armed forces, if we remain vague, Chinese will come and sit down tomorrow at Delhi. And we'll say, oh, Delhi is not the capital of India. It's still to be Mughal capital. We are just occupant of this. Mr. Khrushchev had called Mr. Menon at Geneva conference, and he told in presence of the foreign minister of China, watch out, Chinese are going to hammer you in 1962. His words are there. If you take out the book written by John Dalby on page number 51 and page number 156, you will find his mention there. John Dalby is the one who stopped the Chinese assault in 1962 in Arunachal Pradesh. And he wrote that book, The Himalayan Blunders. We got caught. Our political and diplomatic corps told us we will deal with China on negotiating table. Sir, my request to you is there any country in the world which has ever won the war on diplomatic table? Wars are always fought on ground. Wars are always fought with enemy with the weapons which you have. Diplomatic things are all right on table. And unfortunately, that thinking continues even today. We will deal with China on negotiating table. I don't think that can happen. If you are firm, if you are strong, Chinese will listen to you. Chinese will listen to you. Otherwise, they will hammer us. Second thing, just 1 month back, our diplomats have told very true, absolutely true, that they get an indirect indication Chinese are keen to leave this problem to the coming generation, next generation. From 1962 onwards till 2020, 5 generations of Indian young generations have passed through. 5 generations. There's the 5th generation going on who are in the age group from 10 to 15 years. I don't know which generation they want to leave. And if you see, somebody in PIC can check up. When we want to, the agreement signed between Soviet Union and China on boundary dispute, it is there on record. It is the opening sentence says, whatever is possible will be resolved now. What is difficult will be left to the coming. It was then, well before, long time when we signed the agreement. Today, till 2022, Chinese are claiming territory. Chinese continue to claim the territory of all the neighboring countries around China. There is no country around China with whom they don't have the boundary dispute. And with whom they don't have the land dispute, land boundaries, they have the sea dispute, South China Sea. So the greed for land, greed for space is continued to be there. It will continue to in China. It is not going to come to an end. The second thing, why 62 war took place. In 1913 and 1914, there was a similar conference. We drew up in Great Britain on Tibet. Chinese say we don't agree with that. And since 1993, all the agreements signed between India and China, as I mentioned, I was part of the drafting team of 93. In 96, the second agreement, I was still in the army. Till 2002, another one, I was still in the army and I was consulted. They violated all. One has been respected by China. I will lose my pension, my entire life. If somebody can contradict me on this issue, just show me one line of any agreement signed between India and China which the Chinese are respected. And therefore, I dare say with all humbleness, do not ever trust China. The history of India-China relations for 100 years doesn't prove that you can ever be friendly with China or the China will ever be friendly to us. We had problems. I mentioned Pachiji. In 1960, we created another blunder. We signed Indus Water Treaty. Chinese problem was linked. 3 rivers which are flowing through India, through Kashmir, originate from China, Tibet, flow from Kashmir, and they get into Pakistan. They originate from Himachal Pradesh, Tibet border, flow through Punjab, and get into Pakistan. And water is a problem. Water is a problem. There are 11 nations in East Asia which are dependent on the water which is flowing from the rivers which originate from Tibet. 11 nations, right from Laos up to Myanmar. Everybody. And we have Brahmaputra also, which originates from Tibet, comes to Arunachal Pradesh, comes into our Assam, and goes into Bengal, or Bangladesh now. So Tibet is a problem, yeah, for everybody, but Tibet is the booty China want to keep. China does not want to lose the control over Tibet. You may recall, sir, the excellency of people. I'm sure there are people from media. I'm sure there are people from diplomatic corps. I'm sure people are listening to me. When the Chinese attacked 1962, the Prime Minister of India said, why are we bothered? It's there on the parliamentary proceedings. Not a blade of grass grows there. Not a blade of grass grows. So what is the use of territory or words to the effect? It is there in parliamentary proceeding. It is the same area where not a blade of grass grows. They have found minerals, minerals, and minerals, and minerals. Chinese have discovered. And these minerals will decide the fate of India and China both. Rare earth, uranium, mica, you name a mineral and it's there. And the same plate continues behind the Siachen Glacier and into up to the junction of India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, and China. If we recover, take over POK, our boundary will be touching with Kazakhstan, China, Afghanistan. And this is full of mineral, and therefore China wants to control Tibet and Xinjiang, Uyghur population. Xinjiang was not part of China. They occupied in 1949. And it is through this territory the China-Pakistan economic corridor is passing through. The Chinese are spending billions and billions of dollars. And they are scared of one thing, that India can, if we take our POK back, there are four resolutions passed in Parliament by different governments that POK belongs to India. And we may take over one day. This is the fear of China. And therefore, the friendship between China and Pakistan, as they say, they are our iron brothers. The friendship between China and Pakistan is higher than Mount Everest, deeper than Arabian Sea, and sweeter than honey and sugar. So I ask Your Excellency, if somebody is a diabetic patient, how will he utilize honey and sugar both? He said, नहीं वो बाद में देखेंगे. He used to speak very good Hindi. He said, क्या बात करता है? Then I asked him once, sir, why can't we solve the problem? क्या है? क्या तकलीफ है? चलने दो, तुम भी बैठो, हम भी बैठे, मिलजुल के काम करेंगे. This is the mentality of China. So Chinese are not in a hurry to resolve the boundary dispute with India. It is India that we must resolve. But coming to the issue is, in the past 58 years, Chinese propaganda machine has convinced India that China is a big country. China is a powerful country. China's economy is 20 times bigger than India. China's armed forces are much bigger. China is a powerful country. Tamika hai, Om Bhavati Bhikshantehi. Are we the beggar sitting on the street opposite to the Guru Ganpati and begging everybody? But this mindset, with all my respect, has been created by a successive government which ruled this nation since 1947. And to support them, there was a political party, the India, you can call it CPI, CPM, whatever it is. They convinced every child in India, don't ever take panga with China. So our mindset has become such, when we start taking tough stand against China, you are accused, oh, you are trying to be bullying. Why are you doing this? And there are diplomacy, there are diplomats, there are politicians, there are so-called think tank paid by China and India. They all want India to take a soft line against China. This is the harsh fact of life. I have the names of 17 these so-called think tanks operating in Delhi, and one way or other, they will say India must resolve the problem through diplomatic channel. Mark my word today. Please mark my word today. There will be a suggestion which will come within a month. I think the Prime Minister of India must speak to the President of China. It is the same President of China since 2013. Our Prime Minister has put his entire career at stake, tried to win over, went to Wuhan, called Xi Jinping to Ahmedabad. We had Mahabalipuram dialogue. And India, he is not Mr. Narendra Modi. He is the Prime Minister of India. Chinese have successfully stepped into back. They have not stepped the Prime Minister of India. They have stepped India into back by this aggression. You may question, ये कैसे होता है? When the Prime Minister, the President, the Foreign Minister, the Raksha Mantri, everybody is talking to each other, this philosophy, this thought process percolate down to the armed forces also. I'm not blaming, I've been part of the same armed forces. It comes down. Indirectly, you get a message. Oh, you know, so-and-so visiting the problem, our country, the president of this nation. Please be careful. Be careful, kya? Don't take any firm stand. This percolate down. After the young generation which is serving in the Indian armed forces has also gone through the same mentality. China is a big power. Fortunately for us, this government has stood firm. I am not a representative, I am not a spokesperson of any political party. I have nothing to do with anybody. I don't belong to, but the fact must be accepted. And this is the government which has taken a hard line, the desired line against China. Why has China taken this stand? Firstly, it is first time happening. You know, all good things in India which have happened are from Maharashtra. Swarajya Hamara Janmasiddha Adhikar hai, started from Maharashtra. Joint education started, co-education started from Maharashtra. Mulinchi Shala Maharashtra madhun suru झालेली आहे. And today, the Chief of Indian Army, General Manoj Naravane, happened to be from Pune, is a student from Dhyan Prabodhini, again from Maharashtra. This is the only territory in the entire world on this planet with whom the word Rashtra is there. And it is under his leadership, the Indian Army has gone and climbed and has taken over that territory which belonged to us, which the Chinese have been claiming, and they are saying, you have ingressed into our territory, the Chinese territory, and our chief is saying, our forces are in our own territory, which belong to us. In fact, from wherever we occupied these areas, the border of Aksai Chin, which is the old border, which we got at the time of independence, hardly 17 kilometers. We can dominate then of China. Nothing can move we want. And that is what is worrying China today. so concerned about Ladakh, India standoff. First, they came into Galwan River. Was a guide, a Muslim guide, who used to travel to China. And this river has been named after him. Daulat Beg Oldie is in the proximity. Daulat Beg was the Subedar of the rulers of Kashmir. And he used to travel up to Yarkand, Samarkand. And to spend the night, he created a small fort at the place of Daulat Beg Oldie, almost 17,000 feet. India is the only country in the world which has the highest airfield in the world. Chinese keep looking at this. They don't like it. The world's most modern aircraft, the Goldmaster, which we bought from America, lands there. Our young pilots, who are all between the age of 25 and 30, these are the youngsters who fly and land there. They don't switch off the engine because due to lack of oxygen, you cannot switch it on again. So they keep it on. When I used to travel to these areas, before going to China, right from Karakoram Pass up to India-Myanmar junction, at Daulat Beg Oldie, I used to tell my pilots, drop me there, get back, keep flying, and I'll send you the message, or you come back exactly after half an hour and pick me up. You can't land. You can't switch off your motorcycles. Like it's not like switching off the car. You can't even switch off your aircraft. We are there. It is hurting China. And from Daulat Beg Oldie, Karakoram Pass is just 10 kilometers away. And that is the problem area of China. There is the Kunzere Pass. The borders start from there. The Chinese problem is from Karakoram Pass, you get down toward the north. It is like going from Lonavala to Khandalawala and get it down into Khopoli. And then you get the highway. This is the problem with China. And China is worried that Indian armed forces will dominate that territory also. And then behind Siachen Glacier and behind Kargil, where the China-Pakistan economic corridor is passing through. It is this reason Galwan, Daulat Beg Oldie, Eastern Ladakh, Pangong Lake, and all these areas are very important to China. They are not bothered much about Arunachal Pradesh, though they will not give up Arunachal Pradesh, but they are concerned about this. And therefore the standoff is continuing. Should we give it up? Just because not a blade of grass used to grow there? Our ancestors have told us in the floor of parliament. Give it up. Why are you bothered? My God, what a shame. What a disgrace that you want to give up your territory. The another reason we can't give up our territory is, sir, Indians by nature are too attached to their land. The concepts of Matrabhumi, the motherland. You can't mortgage your motherland or your territory to somebody else just because he happened to be powerful to you. I don't think we can do it. No government will survive for more than 2 months once they say we are giving up Aksai Chin to China. That government will come down forever, ever and ever. So therefore, successive government have been telling lies to the nation. They will take over. If you wanted to take over, what prevented you? Did the army say we cannot go? Did you give the orders to them? To even reach out to the Zangla, all these places where we are sitting today, since 29th of August onwards, to vacate them. No way. No way. General Naravane is the son of India, and the son will not going to betray Matrabhumi. I have discussed with him twice. I don't speak to him on operational matter, but I did speak to him. What will be our stand? I don't discuss official matters. He is not the one during his tenure. An inch of land, what we have taken up now, will go out of India's control. You can be rest assured. What happened thereafter? the perfect combination of the Raksha Mantri today, Mr. Rajnath Singh, the Chief of Defence Staff, Mr. General Bipin Rawat, and the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, the Chief of the Staff, they have made up their mind under the Prime Minister leadership of Shri Narendra Modi. No way. Some people have questioned them, the statement, when they mention that they are not inside our territory. I will not go into detail, but the fact remains we cannot surrender any territory for them. Next question will come. So what will happen? What do Chinese want? Well, Chinese have not given up till today. We have had 4 national security advisors over the last 20 years. 4 of them. 20 years we have been talking. Special representatives. 20 years our foreign ministers have been discussing after 1993 peace and tranquility. Have Chinese ever told you verbally or on the map what is the perception of their line of control? They have not. They will not. Have the Chinese ever told you where is the border between India and China or the Indian Tibet? They have not told you. They will not give you in writing. In 1994, I had made a recommendation. The file is there in the Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I have requested there. When I came back from China, I'm not letting out any secret. I'm not letting out any secret because these are files are handled by common people, and there used to be a tradition in the corridor of power in Delhi. Confidential files were taken away by monkey. Red-faced monkey used to take away the file, and then the requirement, oh, monkey bandar le gaye utha ke wo file. You can go through the record. So it is there on that file that we must start exerting our claim on 5,000 square kilometer of territory which has been given by Pakistan to China in 1963, Shaksang Valley, and it is through that territory the China-Pakistan economic corridor is passing through. I was questioned. I was really a bloody fool. That what the hell you are talking? We have given it, Pakistan has given in 1963, and you are telling us in 1993. I asked the same thing to Mr. the Vice Foreign Minister, and he told me, he said, Datta, तुम्हारे यहाँ एक भस्मासुर नाम का राष्ट्र होता, कुंभकर्ण, वो 3 महीने सोता था, 3 महीने जागता था. Been bloody sleeping since 1963. Pakistan has given us this, and you are in 1993. I said, sir, देर आए दुरुस्त आए, कभी तो बात करना था. इसे तुम तो कुंभकर्ण की बात निकले. Till today, has India told Pakistan, I told China, this is our territory? Till this morning, I don't think. You might give a statement. So Chinese are keen to retain the territory, and the territory will be under threat if the Indian army continues to win Kargil, Siachen Glacier, and Daulat Beg Oldi, and Ladakh. That is the point. Chinese think as health. We think from 3 years to 5 years. That's the only lifespan we have at a point. 2, 3 more points I will, and after I request your answer. Why is China suddenly become against India? Firstly, China wants to dominate India. China wants to dominate entire Asia, the neighborhood of China, and Chinese are aware. Despite our diplomatic corps, talk good, talk please, ये सब करते रहेंगे बैठ के. China knows India is the only nation in this part of the world which can stand up to China. And today's India, the India of 2020 will stand up to China in coming future. And this is worrying China. The second one is India has not approved the Chinese design of road and belt scheme, made be through Myanmar, made be through Nepal, made be through Bangladesh, made be through from anywhere. India is opposing to it because India understands the grand design of China. The third thing is they think India is the obstacle to Chinese grand design, the ulterior motive of China in entire East Asia. They think India is the only roadblock which they will face. The other reason is India's proximity to USA and Europe. It is hurting China. Chinese are apprehensive. And my request to you is, sir, some of us will be alive. Just wait and watch China. By 2020, we should be prepared for a very, very rude surprise from China if we don't wake up now, if we don't pick up. Therefore, there's a need, I request the PIC, there's a need for us to conduct a study debate on this awareness campaign. What China was, what China wants in 2030. They certainly want, I know what they want by 2049. China will complete 100 years of their independence in 2049. We will complete 100 years of independence in 2047. I don't know what is our roadmap, but I've seen the Chinese roadmap, the official documents I've seen. China wants to be the sole superpower in the world by 2049. Who can tell United States to sit down? And USA will not have the courage to disobey China. It is this proximity between India and China, USA is hurting China. And we should be careful. We need a new national strategy. Do we have one? I'm sure there are diplomats, there are bureaucrats here, there are top officials, sir. Does India have a national security doctrine? Till 12:45 on 19th of September 2020. If they sign one after our seminar, I don't know. Is there a security doctrine? How will you make a doctrine? How does the doctrine come into? We must have a national vision. What India wants to be. That vision will give us the national philosophy. That philosophy will give us the doctrine. The doctrine will give us the strategy. And that strategy will tell us where should we focus and where should we focus for future. Doctrine is not only for the armed forces. It will require economic situation. It will require space. The future wars are not going to be fought only on land, sky, and on the sea. They already started fighting war. The surface below the sea water. Dominance of that surface is more important. And that's why Chinese are building up their ships. They are going in for South China Sea. They are conducting surveys throughout the world, trying to find out, because what on the earth is there, minerals. What is hidden below the water, nobody knows. And there are indications which are coming. The minerals which are required for futuristic development of the world are all below the seawater. And therefore, China wants to control the entire South China Sea. They are demanding the East China Sea, which is in Japan. They are wanting the South China Sea's extension up to Indo-Pacific region. These are the areas. The states of Malacca, which India controls today. Control means if we raise our hand with a submarine, no power move from there. 80% China's trade is passing through from there. And China is aware that India can stop it. China is also aware that with the Indo-Pacific region now getting together, America, Australia, Japan, and India, now France want to join, now that can be problematic for China. And therefore, the next phase of the warfare will not be in the Himalayas. It will continue to be there, but it will be this field where we have to fight a war. So the underwater domain, the sea, the land, the sky, and more than sky, it will be in space. It will be in space. Veer Savarkar had said once that India wants to be powerful, is must control the sea. Swatantra Veer Savarkar has said this. People don't read him. It was in 1935, he said this. India was not independent. He said, I want my Indian armed forces to be the most powerful in this entire region. In 20th century, anybody who rules the sea and the space will rule the world. And therefore, the importance of space, spacecraft, satellite, cyber security, and everything. Just 2 years back, North Korea exploded a satellite in the space. And my God, if they do at that time, anytime in the space, there are 10,000 commercial aircrafts, 10,000 are flying in one part of the world and something goes wrong in the space and your communication system goes for a ride. My God, you don't know what will happen in this world. And Chinese have got another Alsatian next door to them known as North Korea. It keeps on threatening America. We will destroy you. We will destroy you. We will destroy you by using nuclear power. They have another person, Pakistan, whose nuclear bomb has been named as Islamic bomb, officially funded by Middle East countries, funded by Libya, in Saudi Arabia, and a number of countries. And therefore, they called it Islamic bomb. But officially, Pakistan is on record successively that India is the only nation in the world against whom we are going to use this bomb. Mr. Z.A. Bhutto, when he was the Prime Minister, I was there in the war. I was participant in the 1965 war, 71 war, Kargil war, I was controlling China. So I gone through all this rut. He said, "Khas khayenge, par bomb banayenge." The Prime Minister of Pakistan said, "We will eat grass, but we will make a nuclear bomb." Today the state has come. Pakistanis are forced to eat grass. The water, Jhelum and Chenab River, and the Satluj and Beas, as per our authorization, that 80% water is the holding of India, Pakistan will become Registan. Mark my word. And therefore, both in conjunction with China and Pakistan, they want to control Kashmir, they want to control Ladakh, they want to control the territory from where the sustenance of the humankind is going and flowing in the form of water. So water will become a cause of conflict in time to come. China wants to accept, India to accept the Chinese supremacy. Should we be seen as an inferior nation? Should we tell our children what we have been told? China is a big country, China is a big power, China is this, and Ami Bhakta Om Bhavati Bhikshandehi. Shall we tell our coming generation that we are the children of beggars? We are the followers of naked fakir? Are we such powerless country? I request your kind consideration. Our coming generation will never forgive us if we convert them into cowards in front of China. Let us not create cowards. It doesn't mean that under the false sense of bravado, we should start behaving in a foolish manner. We must plan. We must plan. We must execute our policy, and we must be prepared. Finally, how to be prepared? There is the old philosophy of Mahabharata, Chanakya Niti. It is said by a number of people, Kautalyas. Unfortunately, they were all written in Sanskrit. So not many Indians they know, because Sanskrit is a foreign language for Indians. If it was written in English, my God, it would have been written on all the walls of Indian houses. Our mindset is so English-centric. The best way to prevent a war, it is there, Chanakya Niti. The best way to prevent a war is to be prepared for it. If you're not prepared for the war, you will get sucked into the war. The place, time, and circumstances which will be not of your choosing. We got sucked into war in 1947 against Pakistan. We got sucked into war in 1962 against China. We got sucked into war in 1965 against Pakistan. On this day, today, when I'm talking to you, Indian Army was on the outskirts of Lahore. The Lahore airfield was under our control. We were told not to capture Lahore. I was a major there. Yeah, sorry, I beg your pardon. I was the captain there. We wanted to fly our flag there. I said, don't ever make that mistake. The mindset we created. Chinese are having the mindset that our flags will not fly somewhere else. In 71 was the only exception, thanks to the leadership of then Madam Gandhi and Air Marshal or Field Marshal Manik Shah. Today the leadership is the same frame. God was unkind to us. He took away Mr. Parikkar. The Shekhar committee report which I mentioned, of which I was the chairman, whatever I have spoken, all there in that committee report, 186 pages are top secret, top secret. I had written those pages in my own hand, top secret. Mr. Parikkar asked me, why don't you put it on computer? I said, there is no computer in the world which cannot be hijacked or which cannot be infiltrated. So to me, I signed it. It is top secret. It will remain top secret because that gives the entire philosophy of India's defense preparedness, defense mechanism. We have mentioned about China, Doklam. We have mentioned Ladakh intrusion. We have mentioned about China-Pakistan economic corridor. We have mentioned even the axis which China want to open through China, through Pakistan, through Iran, through Turkey, and right from China Sea to Mediterranean Sea. We have mentioned there. We have mentioned there. So for us, nothing will come to surprise. But I don't know how many top bureaucrats have ever seen that report. Under the garb of secrecy, they don't even speak the truth on the floor of Parliament. You go through the proceedings of last 2.5 years, and you will find successive Raksha Rajya Mantri who made a statement. He said, we cannot reveal certain things in the national interest. The fact is, they do not want to face the reality on ground. So therefore, I repeat my words. If you wish to prevent war, be prepared for it. If you are not prepared for war, you will get sucked into the war at the place, time, and circumstances which will not be of your choosing. In 2013, up to 2013, whenever the Chinese ingress into Ladakh, one of our foreign minister, he is supposed to be eminent lawyer of Supreme Court. Foreign minister then mentioned, on record, is on TV, it is everywhere. It always a small little mole on our hand. We'll apply the ointment and then mole will disappear. The Chinese intrusion, the Chinese ingress was addressed by the foreign minister of India. He is now becoming a big functionary of the party which are ruling the country. Eminent lawyer, a small little mole. The small little mole has got developed into a cancerous growth. It became a tumor. And that cancerous growth has spread right from Karakoram Pass to the entire Ladakh. The Chinese ingress. Not to be left behind, a very able Prime Minister of India then, he's on record. He's on record to say this is a local problem. The local commanders will deal it. You know who the Prime Minister was? Can we say the Galwan problem was local problem? To be left to General Joshi, who is from Pune and who is commanding those troops? Can the Galwan problem be left to GOC 14 Corps? Harinder Singh, who is the product of Maratha regiment, is giving them tough time. It is under both these people, they are giving tough time to China. It is under their leadership, the Indian army is there, where it was not there since 1962 till night of 30th of August 2020. It is their leadership. And the Prime Minister then said local problem. So I don't think there is any problem with local problem. It's all Indian problem. I end at this place. In case there are any questions, I'll try and answer. I don't know I make a sense of myself or not, because I was always reminded to speak the truth in politics and diplomacy is to commit harakari. I don't want to commit suicide. I want to live at least for the next 4 or 5 years till I am shunted out on the things. I don't want to commit suicide. I have forced others to commit suicide. Number of them, hundreds of them. They cannot go to Jannat. I said, no, you will go to Jannat. I will send you there. Don't worry on that. I'm there. So therefore, finally, my request is to let us be careful about it in the mind. Thank you so much, sir. Grateful to you. I have still 7 minutes left, all under your control, sir. Madam, I hope I have not crossed my limit, the time limits.
Sangeeta, we can take 1 or 2 questions.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, sir, for a extremely good talk. This has been one of the best talks of PIC, I would say. You kept all of us spellbound for last 50-55 minutes or so. It was a kind of a reality check for all of us, a kind of a informative and a talk which created a lot of awareness. So thanks a lot, sir, for this particular talk. We have around 10 minutes or so for questions. So I'll ask questions on behalf of the people who are attending. So, sir, Mr. Madhukar Kotwal, he has a question that given the current state of our preparedness, which you are fully aware of, would you recommend military action against China single-handedly and without taking any support of US? Do you have any specific comments on this, sir?
Yes, sir. Excellent question. Are you handling militarily? Who is sitting on those heights in Rizangla and all these places? Indian military. We have not invited the American soldier to come and sit down with us. So we are doing it. Well, if Chinese invite us for further action, we'll do it. But connected to this question is, with all my humbleness, there is no army in the world. There is no army in the world which can fight on these heights as the Indian Army. The highest mountain in the world, which is in Europe, is just 12,500 feet. Here, our boys don't even use oxygen at the height of 18,000 feet. They don't even use oxygen. So there is no army in the world which is trained in warfare, except the Indian Army, which has been forced to fight in Siachen Glacier and in Ladakh, part of Arunachal Pradesh. So we'll have to fight among ourselves. The other nations will give us the weapons. They might give us technology. They might give us helicopters. They might give us aircraft. But they are not going to give us free of cost. No. We are paying for it. And we are paying dearly. During Kargil time, when we are up against Pakistan, a particular type of ammunition, which we are buying from a country at the rate of $200 per round, they charge us $1,200. $1,200. They jacked up the price because we are in war. And therefore, having learned the lesson, the present government is saying, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Swavalambi Bharat, you can't depend on things. So Indian Army will fight within Chinese Army. We don't require anybody's physical military support. We will certainly require technological support. We will certainly require diplomatic support. We will certainly require international support. But if we have to take on China on sea, in space, certainly will require USA. And that is why you find Quad, which is coming up with Australia, Japan, United States, and China and India. This conference is going to take place this month in Delhi. The Quad is only for this only. So there certainly will certainly require for domination of Indian Ocean, South China Sea. Don't allow Chinese to enter into territory. Don't allow Chinese to take liberty with any of our small neighbors. They all are looking up to India. So I hope this answers your question. We will have to fight our war ourselves on those heights.
Yeah, perfect, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Mr. Arun Joshi, he is asking, do you feel that now onwards the deployment along LAC will be like LOC?
Yeah, the LOC, what we refer is with Pakistan. With Pakistan.
Yes.
Where we had agreed for ceasefire. I commanded the battalion on LOC for 4 years from 1981 to 84. It was all free for all. Anybody could fire. line of control is line of control. It can be altered. Line of actual control, LAC, what China is calling, what India is calling, is different than the LOC. Different than the LOC.
Different.
Line of actual control means who are sitting there. Chinese are not telling us, which is their perception, but we know. We should officially tell them this is our perception of our boundary, and this is what we are going to do. So, no option but to keep the troops there. Like Kargil we used to do, we used to withdraw our troops in the month of winter, and suddenly we found Pakistani sitting there in 99. We got surprised that time. We can't do this with China. We can't do it. We can't trust Chinese anymore. Not the people of China, but the government of China, but the political leadership of China, the military PLA of China. We can never, never, never trust. And they will find a weakness and they'll come. So we have no option but to continue.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks. Mr. Subhash Kale, he's asking, how does India force China to state clearly what it has as a perception of LAC? Do you recommend some kind of a strategy, a particular way to?
Yeah. It will be wrong for me, ma'am, to spell out that strategy must have been evolved. I'm sure 100% sure it must have been evolved. I mentioned you the top secret pages which have been given.
Yeah.
Part of that. But I'm sure capable mind must be on these lines. What should we do in case China does not behave? How do we make them behave? But coming to this point, I'm glad the gentleman who asked this question. I must compliment you, sir. When the Prime Minister of India and the Defense Minister of India made a statement that they have given liberty to Indian Armed Forces to do what they think is right to prevent China from coming into Indian territory and stop their aggression, stop their intrusion. This is what they said. Here, I have the cutting of this newspaper, the Hindustan Times, a very eminent newspaper. They don't. There are no colors. It is the statement or the article written by Mr. Shyam Saran, the Foreign Secretary of India, of the China group which decided the strategy with China, and who was also the Foreign Secretary when the Prime Minister of that time wanted to give up Siachen Glacier to Pakistan, call it a zone of peace. And he says, and I quote, it is on the page where the comment is there in Hindustan Times, dated 24 June, don't give the military total freedom. This is the heading of that article, written by Mr. Shyam Saran, the Foreign Secretary of India, who claims himself to be the expert. Don't give military total freedom. Unke haath baandh do piche pair kamar mein, keep them as a bonded labor, remove their weapons, and send them to stay in the height, to be butchered by the Chinese. The Foreign Secretary of India. Hats off to his wisdom. I salute to his wisdom. I salute to his common sense. I cannot say anything else. This, I hope this answers the question. Another foreign secretary who has been the national security advisor, and he says, and I'm quoting it for Business Standard, if you think banning the apps will work, then good luck to you. You means good luck to India. These are the people, madam and gentlemen in India. I don't know what do you call them. They are the real Desh Bhakt. They are the real Bharat Ratna. They are the one for whom the Chinese are long-term national interest. Because I'm 200% sure Chinese must have promised them, if you want to come and settle down, we'll put you in Wuhan.
Really
Thank
bad.
you,
Thank you. I think we'll take one last question, sir. There are many questions actually, but we do not have that much time. Mr. Mukesh Malhotra, he's asking, how prepared are we to have two-front war with both China and Pakistan as it is inevitable? This is a very, I think this kind of a question is a very common question in common man's mind.
Yes. No, it's a very pertinent question, ma'am. If there is any other question of the similar line, then I'll finish on similar lines.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'll answer this question. and it may answer some other questions also indirectly.
Yes, yes.
Firstly,
There are
ma'am,
few on similar lines. Yes, yeah.
firstly, any nation which has to fight war with two enemies at a time, I think they lost the war in the beginning itself. The philosophy of fighting war with two enemies at a time is a ridiculous philosophy. Can you quote any country in the world individually? Europe might have fought with Russia and Germany and Japan, but which country in the world has fought with two enemies at a time? So therefore, India's philosophy should be, because if you fight with two enemies at a time, you are bound to suffer. Fight with the bigger enemy first. Destroy that enemy. And who is supporting your second enemy? If you destroy the capacity, capability, competence, national endurance, and fighting capability of a bigger enemy or bigger adversary or bigger competitor, that is China, you will take care of Pakistan. Pakistan, in any case, is going to disintegrate. I have no doubt. You just mark my word. You just see what happens to Pakistan by 2030. 2.5 front war. We are fighting not only 2 front war, ma'am, we are fighting with 2.5 front war. We are, Chinese are against us. Pakistan is violating ceasefire line every day. Every day. If you take the violation of ceasefire from 2003, when we declared the ceasefire, till yesterday evening, thousands and thousands and thousands of ceasefire violations. Children have died, the ladies have died, the animals have died, the cattle have died, the civilians have died, and of course, army people are the people. So we are fighting a two-front war. It may not be declared war, but this is an undeclared war which has been thrust upon us. There is another half-front war. Can we ignore Northeast, where the insurgency we have been fighting since '64? I started my career in India, I mentioned to you. Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Ulfa, all these insurgents, the guerrillas, are staying in Yunnan province of China. They have married the local girls. Their money collected from here is deposited in Chinese bank. And Chinese are giving them weapons, training, equipment, even today. And just day before yesterday, I came to know from reliable people from Northeast, the Chinese have told Ulfa that start creating problem for India in Assam, in Arunachal Pradesh, Tirap Changlang district. They told the MPLA, Manipur Liberation Army of insurgents, start creating problem in Manipur. So that will take another front. Naxalites created problem for us, right from Kerala up to Jharkhand, the entire Naxal belt. We've been fighting. None other than the Prime Minister of India, Shri Manmohan Singh ji, made a mention the biggest threat to India's national security is from Naxalites and Maoists. He's on record and he's a very capable man. So we are dealing with that. But the point is, whom should we destroy first or whom should we tackle first? Pakistan has totally mortgaged Balochistan to China, totally mortgaged. The money which has been, they will not be able to pay. The children of Pakistan, in due course of time, will forget Balochistan. Pakistan had mortgaged part of POK to China, particularly the area near Baltistan, Gilgit area, which they have ceded to China in 1963, 5,000 square kilometers. So that, but we have to be careful. We have to be careful because in India, I'm glad Mr. Malhotra has asked this question. There are a number of people who are more sympathetic to Pakistan than to India. They are part of Track 2 lobby. Pakistan ka kya hoga? They go and request the government of Pakistan, you defeat the present government in India, get us into power, and we'll invite you. Manishankar Iyer. He's made a statement there. He made a statement on television sets. Do you really need enemy? You have enough friends in India. He's a great man from the Indian Foreign Services. But we will be able to handle it. Let me assure you. I don't think, with all my humbleness, all humility, there is no power in this earth. There is no power in this earth, including Pakistan, including China, and both come together, which can take over any territory of India with the force of gun. But when people start deciding the mind, the separation, the partition, it starts in the minds of the people. And that is what they try to do in Kashmir. They have not been able to succeed. It is there. It is what has hurt both Pakistan and China. And now we have separated Ladakh from Kashmir. Kashmir is separate, Jammu is separate, Ladakh is separate. It became one of the incentive for China to enter into Ladakh.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And after listening to you, actually, we feel very proud to be Indian, and it's also good to know that we are very well prepared to even fight 2.5 times of the war, or 2.5 fronts of the war. Amitabh sir, Malik sir, any concluding comments? Also, Kelkar sir, any comments to conclude?
Your mic is mute, Dr. Kelkar.
Thank the General for very, very sort of frank and candid assessment, and he has given lots for us, all of us to reflect and think about. And on many points, I do agree with him. Not necessarily all. I think he certainly asked us to think more deeply on the challenge we face now. Thank you, General.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Very kind of you.
Thank you,
I didn't know you
General.
were listening to me.
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
I would have been careful then. I would have been careful.
You know,
So,
Yeah.
sir, on behalf of PIC, let me thank you for coming over and addressing the audience. This was one of the highest attended talks of PIC Adda, sir. So I'm sure a lot of people have got a lot of information and kind of reality check on the situation of the country. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Amitabh.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. Bye-bye.